Beautiful. So, thank you for letting me come and speak. I appreciate it, Alicia. And the presentation I'm going through today, we're going to be talking about content security for Salesforce, a little bit about the shared responsibility model, which is news for a lot of people. Maybe you've heard about it before, maybe you haven't. But this particular presentation is the one that we actually presented at Dreamforce just a few weeks back in San Francisco. I'm not sure if anyone here was at Dreamforce or had the ability to attend. Just curious. Anyone be able to attend? No?
No.
Okay.
I was watching some content online.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, it was my first time. I've only been with the company now since June, but I was really impressed with the level of production that Salesforce does for that event. It was pretty wild. So yeah, and I'm just, so this particular presentation is about a company called Page Group. They're a recruiting firm. I'm going to talk a little about their use cases and some of the use cases that we see. But I'm sure everyone is pretty familiar with, you know, having applied for a job sometime in their past or actively doing it now. You know, you're either setting up your own profile, you're uploading your resume, what have you, that everyone's very familiar with the process. So let me jump through. Obviously, the first thing is, my name is Nick Collevechio, so I'm a sales manager here for WithSecure and kind of handle the entire United States. But just a little bit about the company first and foremost is, you know, we've been around for 34 plus years. We're big players in the cybersecurity space, very big global presence, 30 offices across the globe. We're actually the #1 person for Salesforce content security. We're even listed on Salesforce's website for this particular use case of content security. And we have customers ranging from all different sizes, all different verticals. It totally depends on how the customer really uses Salesforce and how they are allowing content into their environment, whether that be web to case, email to case, web to lead, user upload with its Sales Cloud, whether it's an experience cloud, some kind of knowledge share portal or partner portal, what have you. There's so many different ways to which you can allow external or internal users upload different files, documents, attachments, all that good stuff. And when we talk about that, most things that I run into that a lot of customers don't realize is they just automatically assume that because it's Salesforce, everything's safe, everything's good, everything's protected. But if I actually talk about something that's called the shared responsibility model, and a lot of people don't actually know this, just curious, has anyone heard of the shared responsibility model before as it pertains to Salesforce's security?
I've heard about it, Nick, but I don't think I can explain it.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. So, and it's not just Salesforce, it's all cloud solutions, in which I've labeled some of them at the top here to be fair to Salesforce here. But basically what it says is the cloud, in this case, we're talking about Salesforce, they're going to make sure that the platform and the infrastructure is secure. They're going to make sure that it's got the host infrastructure, that it has, they're going to do their own auditing, their own penetration testing, all of that to make sure that no one could just come off the street and get access into your Salesforce instance and, you know, retrieve any kind of information that you have there. They're going to make sure that that platform is totally safe. But on the other flip of the coin, it's up to the customer to make sure that you have permission sets, that you have, you know, different field level security, identity management, and at the very bottom, content security and malware protection. That's always going to be the customer's responsibility. I just need to move people here. There we go. And I just want to ask the question, just curious, does anyone know what is the most used channel to start a cyber attack? You had to guess.
Email.
Boom, winner.
All right.
80% of malware is actually delivered via email. And just to give some kind of numbers around that, for Microsoft 365, for example, they have over 180 million business email accounts. And just curious, on that same token, what do you think, like how many of email systems, how many companies out there that utilize email are without some form of email malware protection?
it must be something mind-boggling, right? Like some crazy amount.
Zero. Every business, pretty much every business has some form of email security because they understand the risk there. They understand that 80% of malware is going to be delivered via email. So they want to make sure that they have some layer of protection there to make sure that whatever's coming in is safe for everyone on it before it gets to their network. So here is a little diagram that kind of picture why it is important for you to secure your cloud services. So whether it's a file, URL, an attachment from an email, it's always the customer's responsibility to make sure that whatever data is coming in is safe and is secure for the company and is safe for the endpoints, the laptops, everything that's coming into the network. And since there's a growing popularity of all of these cloud environments, there's been a huge increase in cyber attacks that are targeting those resources and trying to retrieve some of that sensitive data. I'm sure you hear about it on the news all the time. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you have all of these different attachments that you have to make sure is safe. Now, here's a picture that's probably familiar, the customer 360-degree profile. And because email is so well protected, cyber criminals are constantly looking for other channels, new ways to which they can try and infiltrate a company's infrastructure. Ergo, here we go, Salesforce is a platform that they're starting to think about. And because there's so many different ways, as I articulated before, and you can allow files in, whether that be email to case, web to case, web to lead, what have you. Even the Experience Cloud is also another big one. When's the last time you've done some content mapping? Can you fully say with confidence that you can trust all the content that's coming in or that currently sits within your Salesforce instance? So if I go now, we already looked at the image for what emails look like. Well, similar thing. Salesforce is the same. You have this content that has the ability to just transport itself into your environment via those ways that we talk about right there that's listed with those same things, files, emails, URLs, what have you. All of that is the customer's responsibility to make sure it's safe before it goes to that environment. So why wouldn't you think about Salesforce in that same way? And furthermore, if you have it set up this way, you might even have a customer or partner environment as well that could be at risk here too. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why is this important? I haven't really heard about this before. Is this really a thing? Well, how is this really happening? Well, in the last 6 months, the detection volume of malicious files and URLs has actually increased 250% for our clients that use our services. And that is file and URL detections per customer per month. So we're seeing a huge steep increase in this new attack vector that these bad actors are really trying to leverage and utilize to figure out some way other than email to get into the company's network. And as I was just sharing before, how this is happening more and more with other cloud forms of security, you may or may not have heard that Uber had a huge breach just about a month ago, as well as Rockstar Games, the famous company that makes Grand Theft Auto, a very, very huge, popular gaming company. They actually were breached via their Slack channel, which is a pretty open communication portal. So I say that just to say that this is something to be thinking about, something to be talking about, because it is definitely prevalent, and it's only becoming more and more prevalent as more companies further adopt Salesforce and cloud technologies. Now when I shift over to PageGroup, as I talked about before, they are a worldwide leader in specialist recruitment. They have one global Salesforce org, and they actually had a huge customer connect initiative that was going to catapult them to being the #1 firm. They wanted to essentially use an app that would make applying easier for you and I or whoever to apply for jobs. Think of it in similar to like online dating in that sense, where you have your profile set up, you can scroll, and for jobs that fit your interests, you can swipe and match and apply simply with just a few touches of your application. And that was going to help them be able to streamline their ability to take incoming resumes and place more and more people, and ultimately hire more as well, just be more efficient. They wanted to really adapt Salesforce and their Service Cloud, and with that, there were some security concerns that came with allowing all of this content to just pour on into their Salesforce. And just to give you some context of how much volume are we talking about here, they were doing up to 60,000 CVs or resumes uploaded to Salesforce each and every day. That's a lot of content that they have to make sure is safe for their infrastructure, safe for their environment. So what does that mean for security and compliance? Well, as we shared, it's going to be the customer's responsibility to make sure that that's safe. And there was definitely a risk there that was preventing them from moving forward with this implementation. They were not, it stalled their project. They had a go live date and they weren't able to actually go live because there was this huge security risk that was left unanswered, that they needed to figure out how they were going to solve this. And so they basically found our solution. We demoed it. We demoed our solution, got them all set up and everything, and it actually solved this security concern. They went from 10 users for their Service Cloud to over 10,000 users, and now they're up to millions of resumes being uploaded. Really helped improve their business, helped them really transform how they conduct their business, because Salesforce is a fantastic technology, as you all know. And by removing these security concerns, we really enabled them to fully adopt and use Salesforce to its fullest potential without having any kind of risk there. And the other thing too is when we think about this, and the reason why there's a risk here is it's not really the service agent or employee's job to really make this decision of, can I open this attachment? They get a case that's sent to them. They're just trying to work their workload here. They're not security minded folks that are like, well, should I really click this URL? Should I really be opening this? It's not really, quite frankly, it's not their job. They're just trying to do their job as efficiently as possible. So we had to figure out a way that would make them have this level of security that's there. So let me just go through these for a second. Internal security architect and partner assessed PageGroup's non-functional requirements, and then we were chosen to meet those requirements and enable them to look after their clients and candidates and unstructured data. And then lastly here, how do we kind of help secure their business? Well, we actually complement the native Salesforce security that was in place. They had Shield, they had a few of these other things here, but again, all of the things that are itemized here on the left only protect what's on the platform. They further enhance and give control and power to just help what's on the platform. They don't do anything for all those CVs, those 60,000 plus resumes that are coming in. There's nothing in place. Even with those security measures in there, they're making the platform as secure as possible, but nothing to help make sure that the stuff that's coming in is safe. So we fit in on the other side to help make sure that all that stuff was coming in and being great. And I just have it's a super quick video, no sound, but just to demonstrate what that looks like once we're implemented there. That service agent's going in, they're looking at their open applications, they're logging in for the day, they see here's a case, okay, Tom Jerry, let's click this link to check out his online portfolio, or let's check out his application first. Nope, we've actually scanned that content, we've deemed that it's malicious, so we're actually protecting it. So nope, can't access that. Well, let me check out their online profile, let me click this link. And in real time, we're checking that and making sure that they don't go to that website because it is a malicious website, phishing or what have you. So this is kind of what it looks like. The attacker is trying to upload some form of malware in disguise of a URL or in disguise of a job application or a document. And our solution sits on Salesforce. We're going to scan it in real time, make sure that it's safe. If it's not, we're going to remove that threat. We have real-time analytics, and we're going to alert the proper people that are needed inside the company. That could be product owners, could be admins, could be folks on the security team, the InfoSec team, IT. It totally varies depending on the company, on who are the right people that want to be notified and handle all of this. And how that really looks is the content that we've talked about now, those various different types of them. They're going to go through into your Salesforce, which at the point that it hits your Salesforce, that's when the scan occurs. And if we need to do further analysis, we'll send it to our AWS security cloud, where we're going to do a further threat intelligence check with our multi-engine antivirus. And then we're going to use our sandbox. What does that mean? We're going to open up that file in a safe environment, speed up the clock, speed up the time to see if this really is safe, play around with it a little bit. And if it's totally safe, then we send it right back to you all in a matter of seconds, and off you go. If it's bad, we're going to detect it, make sure that we alert that person that it's not safe. And then we're going to give all of this great reporting to give you full 360-degree view of your environment, to give you full control of knowing all of that content that's coming in. You know, where's it coming from? What cases or things are they residing in? And do we need to remove this altogether? And we're on the App Exchange, super simple to be deployed in a matter of 5 minutes. You can even go on the App Exchange and download a free trial in your own instance and trial it out and see for your particular use cases. We do, you know, file protection, URL protection. We can filter different content if you want to make sure you don't even allow any, you know, URLs that aren't pertaining to your business. And kind of how this came to be, as I shared earlier in this presentation, we're a cybersecurity company. Once we found out about the shared responsibility model and there was this gap here, well, we can't afford to have a breach of any kind. It would just, you know, cripple our reputation as a cybersecurity company. So we actually developed a solution for ourselves because we use Salesforce, and we worked with Salesforce to help create it hand in hand. They liked it so much that they helped us get on the App Exchange, and then they're actually a customer of ours as well and use us for their content security for their own internal use. So what are the key takeaways? If you leave with some things, leave with these things. It's always your responsibility to secure your content on the cloud. Make sure that attackers can't use your business processes in cyber attacks. And I was thinking about removing this from the presentation, but I think it's worth it because if anyone wants to, after this presentation, and they want to talk further about this, if they want to see me do a demonstration of it, more than happy to do it. I didn't want to take up any of the time here in this on this platform. But we also have like a little risk assessment tool where, you know, we ask you 5 or 6 questions where I'll share my screen. We just click it through. It was done on an iPad when we were in Dreamforce, but kind of hard when I can't be there next to you with the iPad. So I have it on my computer. It's just a couple of questions, and what it'll do is it will send you a PDF breakdown of it, basically the risk assessment of your Salesforce instance for your company. And you can kind of get a good idea of where are the most risk things that we should look at and evaluate. It's always easier, faster, and cheaper to detect and stop cyber attacks where they originate versus being reactive once they've already occurred. And then lastly, consider your security responsibility proactively at the start of any project and again on a regular basis. Don't be super close to your go live date on a certain implementation with a Service Cloud or an Experience Cloud, and then all of a sudden security and compliance teams come up and say, well, hold up, what about this? And then now your project's delayed. If you attack these on the front end, you can actually, you know, streamline that process and not have any unexpected hurdles that come up. And lastly, this is the that obviously there's the iPad. So that's the risk assessment that we would be able to do, still can. At the end of this, you know, I'm sure Alicia will give my contact information out for anyone that wants to learn a little bit more, talk more, do a risk assessment, do a demonstration. I'm happy to show anyone this, but that's really the presentation that I wanted to show today. And if there's any questions, I'm gonna stop there so I can just stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah, Nick, I wonder if you can go back and share again the previous slide where you have your takeaway, so we have that open while we're talking, if that's okay with you.
I can absolutely do that.
That's awesome. And so, well, we'll see if anyone else has any questions before I start. I know we have a few consultants on the call right now, but also some of you that work at the company. Do any of you see this as a potential application in your org, or did it make you think of other risks that your company or your org could have? Just curious what everyone is thinking.
This was definitely enlightening for me, and something I wasn't thinking about. I know we get content coming into the org through the applications with our green communities, and I'm sure there are other avenues, but so this is just something I'll bring up to our security team and see if we already have something in place. But it's good to see the use case and you know, picture what it's like for our org and thinking about it. So thanks for that.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned community, Jabari. So what kind of applications coming into your community?
Oh, well, I know that we have companies that are developing properties that need to submit documents to be part of our green communities program, which basically certifies that they're building in a environmentally conscious way. And so I just know there's content being uploaded from the public. So, you know, from what you talked about, is definitely somewhere where we could be vulnerable if we don't have something in place.
Yes, thank you. And I think it's just
Yeah.
helpful for everyone to hear. Plus, we always like to hear different use cases, right, for the community
Yeah.
and how things are being uploaded. So one of my clients, Nick, and I think that's how we started talking, is we're in the process of developing a big community for them. And part of it is they support leadership in the education sector. And there's people who submit their job applications and their resumes through the community. So that is also potentially a risk, right? Because anyone can post anything, any link, any document in there.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any thoughts about it? Feel free to just unmute yourself or post a question in the chat. I have a question about Slack specifically, Nick, while everyone is gathering the thoughts. So you mentioned that Uber and the gaming company were hacked through Slack recently. Is there anything that you or your company offering for Slack specifically, or right now you just focused on the Salesforce as a cloud?
Right now, so our company does a whole slew of cybersecurity products. I focus on the Salesforce portion of our product. Now, we don't currently do Slack, but it's high priority number one, and we're trying to get that covered as soon as possible. And we really are aiming to do that early next year because of the security, quite frankly, the security nightmare that Slack actually poses, because it literally is just an open communication. You can have customers enter your Slack channel and upload URLs, documents, what have you. So it's something that we're actively doing. We just don't have something in place yet.
Okay, that's just good to know, good to think about.
Yeah,
it.
great question. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just my goal of being able to come here and speak to everyone is just kind of just trying to raise awareness. I mean, the last thing anybody wants is to have some kind of breach that dramatically affects the company that we all work for. So, you know, the average cost of a ransomware attack is north of $1 million. So, pretty devastating to a business. And, you know, and so my whole goal is to just kind of raise awareness, at least just have conversations. You never know where they go. May not be something now, but if something comes up in 2 years from now, it's like, I remember that there's something in place that can help solve this. Perfect. Great.
Exactly. And that's exactly why I thought it would be good for Nick to speak here, just because I have been on the platform for almost 12 years now. And when he reached out to me and asked this question, I didn't think about it, just like Jabari, you as well. Like, I didn't think about people uploading stuff to community being a risk. So that is definitely, again, as Salesforce admins, managers, project managers, we always have to, consultants, we have to make sure that is done. I saw that Barbara had to drop off. I wanted to ask her a question, how she's handling that on the government side, but maybe we can pick her brain later.
Yeah, I was interested in that too, because I've actually been working with several consultant companies, and they've actually been approaching us because a lot of like local state and government, it's now becoming a part of their implementation process, right? Like they want to use their Service Cloud, their Experience Cloud, and they can't even go live with it because they're actually mandating that there's something in place from a security perspective. So they're coming up to us and saying, hey, we need something in place so we can actually deploy what we want to deploy. So again, going back to what I was saying, it's better to be a little bit more proactive in this, and at least just knowing that this is a conversation that you probably want to have earlier in the implementation process versus towards the end.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Well, everyone on the call, we do want to have this as an open channel. So feel free to post your question or give us thumbs up, thumbs down. Was it helpful? Is it something you're already well aware? And just overall opening a floor for any of the security questions or concerns or use cases that you're dealing with recently. This is a user group, right? So we want to help each other as much as possible. Is there anything specific that you're working on where, you know, you just need a community help? Yeah, very quiet and shy group today. That's quite all right. Okay, well, I hope everyone had a chance to look at that last screenshot, and I mean, take a screenshot or take a look at that last slide for the key takeaways. Nick, thank you so much for your time today. Again, group, I feel like I don't even know. Does anyone have any questions before we hang up? That was probably one of the fastest presentations we've ever had. So Nick, thank you and kudos to you for so efficiently going through that.
No, my pleasure. I'm sorry, the East Coast and the New Jersey, I talk fast, so I'll probably be slower.
Oh, I have a question. I guess for you all services, do you all recommend like an organization with a certain amount of volume use your services? Is there like not a bracket for like a organization that maybe only gets like 10 uploads a year or something, you know what I'm saying? Like just a lower amount of traffic.
Yeah, I mean, it's for someone that has very low use like that.
Because it's still a risk, but
Of course, no, I mean, they
solution
can
be
go
for
on,
them?
they can go on the app exchange and probably just purchase it right then and there. It's not that expensive in that regard to have that protection for something like for low use stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just wondering because sometimes there's solutions where it's like more for a larger amount of traffic. It just depends on like kind of the pricing
totally.
brackets. But that's great because there's organizations that I would recommend this to. But I know don't get like 60,000 uploads like the example you gave.
Yeah, no, I was sharing an example. Really, the security risk is, I mean, from a security perspective, all it takes is one.
Exactly.
If you allow one piece of content, that could be the one.
Right. Yeah.
And we just mirror Salesforce's licensing model, so we protect the users. So however many Service Cloud users there are, that's however many licenses that we choose to protect.
Oh, okay, great.
That's kind of how that works. So if there's 10 Service Cloud users, we would protect the 10 users from that stance. And it's usually, it's a little less than, 10% of what the Salesforce cost is for that user.
And
except communities is super cheap because community licenses are in fact very cheap, especially login users. Those are extremely cheap.
And a kind of a follow-up question: do you all support any other line of attacks? And the example I have, actually at the last organization I worked at, we had a community and users were able to log in or create a login and sign up for a membership with us through the Salesforce community. And for whatever reason, we got on the radar of some. The IP address ended up being from China, and they were just spamming us and were creating thousands of user accounts every day. And I had to delete like millions of records out. And then we ended up putting some things in place, more of like system side, just to prevent them from creating user accounts without, you know, entering some required data and things like that. But it would be better if there was some kind of security measure that could be put in place, so, you know, we just wouldn't have to worry about something like that. But
Totally. Yeah, we have stuff like that. We have a solution in place where it's basically live monitoring, where like we're checking to make sure that nothing odd is happening. And in that scenario that you just outlaid, they would see that there's a random IP address coming from China that's doing these irregular activities.
yeah,
They would eradicate that immediately and block or whatever, what have you, right, instantaneously. So to answer your question, yes,
okay.
not something we do, but I have.
It'd be, yeah, I'll just I'll refer you all to that organization, and just maybe it's worth having a conversation.
Exactly.
Could be helpful. Cool.
Great questions, Jabari.
Good. Your brain's already like kind of the wheels are turning from a security
Yeah,
mindset.
security
That's
is
great. I love
like
it.
you were saying, you have to stay ahead of it. And
Yeah.
once you get, you know, attacked, it can be devastating. Actually, we just had a session about a week ago at Enterprise. And it was called Salesforce Shutdown. And it was like, what would we do if Salesforce wasn't available? How would we continue our work? And I was like, whoa, I had not even thought about that, because I just think Salesforce is so secure, like everybody's on Salesforce, but in a real way, we still have to do our work. So yeah, these security conversations are really important.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And now as a manager, that's your
That
headache.
yeah, right.
Yeah, here was the average cost to rectify a ransomware attack is $1.85 million. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
2021 was the worst year ever recorded for ransomware attacks, and it just continues to grow. It's like a bell curve. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and you just don't know until you have to deal with it, and hopefully you don't have to get to that point. But
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you, of course, Nick, for your time today and your effort. This was a great presentation. Yeah, everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much for letting me attend. Appreciate it. Nice
Yeah,
meeting you all.
great to have you here. Take care, everybody.